Hi everyone, my name's Alex and I'm a Craftland Master at the Flowers Invention Studio. Today we're going to go over basic embroidery machine training. So this is our embroidery machine that we have. It's got 7 different colors, so that means you can do up to 7 different colors at once. If you want to do more than 7, that's totally fine. It just means the machine will stop partway through, you swap out some of your threads, you keep going, it's perfect. On the left side here, we've got the plug on the side, also a little on and off switch where you of course turn the machine on. It'll light up like this. The screen should be lit up as well. Okay, so looking at the main menu here, we've got some already pre-made designs from the machine. You're welcome to use those, or if you want to use something else, you can use a flash drive with one of the designs that you make over on Hatch. You go to this little file button over here, you click the USB drive, and then you open your EMBF file. And that is a special folder made by this machine, so that's where all of your files are going to be. Here you can see a few files made by previous PIs, but that is the general format of how you would go about doing it. You can also delete files, rename, all that good stuff, and to go back, you just click this little back button. And that's it. To go back to the main menu, you can do that at any time. You just click menu, or you can go all the way back. Okay, first we're gonna go over how threading the machine works. So I'm gonna show you guys with the purple color right here. So pretty much the machine has this little lock button. You unlock it to release the tension on the thread. If this is not in the locked position when you're trying to embroider, it'll automatically shut off as a safety feature and it won't start your project for you until you lock it like this. But when you're changing the thread, you of course unlock it to release your tension so your thread can come out without breaking. Now, let's say I have my thread. I'm gonna roll it up so there's not a lot of spare left. Now I've got this little netting piece around it. It's just good to have, keeps it from tangling and all that good stuff. So I shove the color that I want into it with this like frayed part at the top. And then I go ahead and grab my end right through it. I'm gonna put this right here, and basically all of the different threads are numbered on the machine when you do a project, and all of them are numbered right here on the machine, the corresponding labels. So whenever you're doing a project, if you want, say, black is your main #1 color and it's #1 on the machine, you would thread it in this first threader here. In this case, purple is my #1 color. So I'm going to thread purple through the first one. So all I do is I start up at the top and I thread through this hole right here. I secure it through this little latch piece. Then I drag it down to the bottom for this very first spool. I thread it through this back loop, like so. I pull it through, and there's a little arrow coming around that guides you. So you put the thread through these 2 little metal plates and around this little metal piece. And that's essentially the same thing that the picture is showing you what to do. So as long as your thread looks like this so far, you're doing the right thing. Now to move forward, making sure this is still released, you don't want to have it in tension, you're going to thread it straight through and down into this first hole. Like that. Then you come back up through this second hole, and then this is for #1. So you go ahead and thread it through here. It's a lot of holes, I know, but please bear with me. And then finally, you thread it through this one, down at the bottom, this one right here, and you go ahead and pull. You thread through this. See, it's labeled #1, so you know that you're doing the right thing. Right there. And then you just thread the needle like normal, like you would on a sewing machine. So behind this small silver piece, you go ahead and thread it, and then you just thread it through the hole. After that's done, you hook it on here, preferably the other way, and then you're good to go. That's essentially how you would thread the machine. Don't forget to thread it through this tiny little hole before you secure it up here. I'm not doing that because this little piece is frayed, so it wouldn't go through the hole right now anyway, unless I cut it off with some scissors, but you guys get the idea. After that, you're ready to start embroidering your work. Hey guys, so this is the software that you use for the embroidery machine. It's called Hatch Embroidery Digitizer. So when you first open up the program, it's going to look a little something like this. This is your design library, okay? So any pre-made designs made by the software are going to be in here. You've got a lot to choose from. Are some of them a little cheesy? Yes. Do we still love them? Also yes. We also have the Invention Studio logo in here. People have made their own designs. You can find those in the design library, like we have a Pikachu, the logo, some dinosaurs, etc. But if you want to make your own design, you go up to the top left and you click New. And now you have your own blank design area. So the first thing that I like to do is decide what hoop size I'm working with. You've got M1, which is your largest, M2, which is your medium size, which is the size that most people tend to start out with, and your M3, which is really tiny, great for details or patchwork, that kind of thing. For the sake of our tutorial video, I'm going to go with an M2, which was already pre-selected, so we're fine. And then you can do a bunch of different things in Hatch. It's super easy to use. You can do lettering and monogramming. So for example, if I want to make a monogram with my initials, there are a bunch of design layouts that you have to pick from. All you have to do is click on one, click into it. You can go to letters and you can change the letters to your initials. So I can change mine to AAM, and then I've got it something like this. You can also change like the ornaments, the borders, have like different stitch types for the outline. It doesn't have to stay like this. I can make it like a motif or something like that. It's very customizable. You can feel free to have fun with it. The sequence of your objects is going to be on this scroll bar on the right. So you can see it has the motif first for your border, and then it gradually goes in, and things that are a different color will show up on this side. So you can see certain things are different colors, such as the letters versus everything else. Now, if I don't want this, you can get out of here. I can select all of it and just delete it. So if you want to do your own custom design and you want to like paste an image from the internet, like you want a cat or a dog or I don't know, some club logo, a book motif that you like, whatever. You can go ahead and copy paste like you normally would. So I copied the GT logo and I just went ahead, Control V, and pasted it in here. So you can see just a normal image from the internet, nothing crazy. I'm going to go ahead and size it down a little bit. And it kept its proportions because this little lock button was on. So I can unlock it, lock it. If it's locked, you don't have to worry about your width changing more than your height is supposed to. Everything will stay in the same proportion, which is super nice. So I'm going to resize it so it fits in this red box, which is my bounds for the hoop. And then I'm going to go over here, and you can do like trace the nodes out yourself, but you don't have to. There is a much easier way. It is called the wonderful Auto Digitize button. You can go in here. I've got my GT selected. You can either do Auto Digitize Instant Embroidery or Auto Digitize Embroidery. The difference here is the instant will just go ahead and do it for you, and with the Auto Digitize, it will also do it for you, but you can select certain things, like you can choose what colors you want to omit, how many colors you want to have. So if you have a more complicated picture and you want to simplify it and make it less colors, you can. So I prefer to use Auto Digitize, but if you're in a hurry, you can also use this one. It's up to you. So you can see here's my original bitmap, here's my process bitmap. I reduced the colors to 6, which I don't want that many colors, so I'm going to reduce it down to 3, just these. So you can see over here, I went from having 6 colors to 3. I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. And then you can see I've got fill, details, and omit. So it's filling in the gold where most of the embroidery is going to happen for the GT. The details on this outer part are this navy blue black situation. And then it's omitting the background, but if I wanted to include that, I would just hit fill. I don't really care to include it for this example, so I'm gonna go ahead and omit it and hit OK. And there you go. So I didn't have to go through all the work of selecting and tracing nodes on the outside. It just went ahead and did it for me, which is super nice. When you're done with that, go ahead and delete the image that you copied. And if I want to get rid of this little piece down here, I can just go ahead and click on it and scroll in and highlight this little piece and just delete it. Easy as pie. You can go ahead and scroll out. Control scroll is left to right, which you've seen me do. Sometimes I flip them in my head, but that's okay. If you want to change something to a different color, or if you want to change it to a different stitch type, all you do is select it. And I can change this, so right now it's at tatami, and I can change it to satin if I want to. I can mess around, decide what I like the best. I like the 3D satin the best, so I think that's what we're gonna go with. If I want to change the other one, same deal. I could make it tatami, make it embossed, whatever I want. I'm gonna go ahead with this. If I want to group my project together, you just highlight the whole thing, Control G, and now it's one cohesive piece. Also, if you want to change your color, so say you have a picture that's more complicated and you decided later on that you want to reduce the colors even more because you have some colors that are very similar or whatever. You go down to this bottom bar and you can pick and apply different colors. So say I want to change the navy on the GT. I can go ahead and pick whatever color I want. So I could pick this purpley color and then I can apply it to whatever piece I want. So say I wanted this outside piece. Now I've changed it. This is totally up to you. It's good when it's especially good when you have a more complicated design and you're trying to reduce the colors even more. In this case, it doesn't really matter that much. And whatever colors you have in the program, they don't have to correctly correspond to the exact color that you're embroidering with, as long as you can keep it straight in your head. Okay, purple actually means navy, or gold actually means green, or whatever you're substituting it with. Either way, you're totally fine. Just make things that you want the same color in the program, and then you're good, because the machine isn't trying to switch back and forth between different colors when it's actually supposed to be multiples of the same color, if that makes sense. So I have this how I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to export it so that we can send it over to the machine. This is the point where you want to have a flash drive plugged in so that you can go ahead and save it on the flash drive in that special EMBF file that we talked about earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and do File, and then I'm going to Export Design. If you save the design as, it's going to save it in the hatch file format, which is not something that the embroidery machine can read, so you need to go ahead and export design. Click Save, and you're done. Okay guys, so the next step, you can do this either before or after you thread your machine, it's totally up to you, but we're gonna go ahead and work on the actual fabric that we're going to put in our hoop. So this is the little piece that I have for what we're gonna do today. You can go ahead and ask a Craftland Master for it. It's in the back stock, so they'll unlock it and get it for you. And then we have 2 sheets of this stuff called stabilizer. Now I just use regular stabilizer. We also have water soluble if that's something that you need. But in this case, we're just using this today. Basically, it does what it says it'll do, and it stabilizes your fabric. It just keeps it super taut, keeps breakage from happening, all that good stuff. Allows your embroidery to come out nice and clean. So you go ahead and lay the stabilizer down sleek side down. And if you're ever unsure, you can go ahead and test it. And if you did it the wrong side down, the iron will go ahead and stick to your stabilizer, and that's how you know you just need to flip it the other way. So both of these pieces are this like fuzzier side up, and they're sandwiched together all on top of my fabric. So I just go ahead and iron this on. And you know it's good when you pull it up and it's all perfectly stuck down to the fabric. And then that's it for this part, and then you're done with the ironing. So now that you've got your stabilizer ironed onto the back of your fabric, it's time to go ahead and set up your fabric in the hoop, which is one of the fun parts. So this is what the M2 hoop looks like. It's labeled and it's got a little arrow, so you know that this is the way that you insert it into the machine. And these two little pieces on each side are going to go ahead and lock it into place. You should hear a little lock noise when you pop it in, and nothing should be hitting any of the needles. If you put it in like this, you're going to bump the needles on the embroidery machine, and that's how you know that you've done it wrong. But yeah, that's just a little food for thought. So these are the two pieces of your hoop. This piece has a little adjuster so you can make it bigger or smaller, and it also helps you tighten the fabric around your hoop. So basically, what you go ahead and do is you're going to sandwich the fabric in between like this, and then you're going to pull it really taut, twist this tight, and then you're good to go. So take the outer hoop first, put my fabric on top, and then I start to push this top piece on, and you can see that it's starting to get a little bit tight. So I like to flip it over to the other side so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And I just go ahead and push it on. And I start to tighten this a little bit. Now that I've got it a little bit tight, I'm going to come back over here and try and just pull on the sides a little bit to make it extra taut. And then go ahead and tighten it some more. And you just keep repeating this pulling motion until it's as tight as you want, ideally the tightest that you can get it without your stabilizer ripping. And see this poking that I'm doing? That's just a good test to know that you've got it tight enough. So if you have a lot of loose fabric going around and it doesn't look super slick and flat like this, then that means you just need to pull on it a bit more and tighten it. But this looks pretty good for what we're doing today. Now that we've got our fabric and stabilizer in our hoop, we're gonna go ahead and set it up on the machine, and then we can get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thread out of the way from earlier. Just gonna tuck it in here. Keep in mind that the thread should be in this little hole, like I said, but it's just frayed at the end, so I'm not gonna try because it won't work. Then I go ahead and slide it in. And these click in, so it should be very stable. Now, to go to the project that I was working on in Hatch, I'm just gonna go ahead to this little file button, hit my USB, hit EMBF, which is the special file folder that this embroidery machine has made. And of course, that is going to be where I saved my GT, which is right here. I go ahead and click on the GT, and then I'm good to go. So when you get to the project that you're working on, you can see the different colors and what needle they correspond to. So in this case, gold is one, and this lavender color is two. Now, say you want to make a GT that's gold and white. That's totally fine. It's just labeled as lavender in the machine. You can thread it whatever color you want. you just have to know, okay, whatever color I'm threading that I'm replacing, you just have to make sure you thread it in the right number. So if I want to replace lavender with white, I have to thread it in number 2 and not number 1. It'll give approximate time, so this one says 62 minutes. It'll tell you what color you're on, it'll tell you what the size of it is, all that good stuff. So after you've got all your colors set up, everything is threaded the way you want it to, make sure that this latch is locked. It won't start without it, and it'll give you a little error message if it's not. So all good if you forget, but it's nice to try and keep it in mind for safety reasons. Then you can go ahead and trace your outline to make sure that you don't hit any of these border areas, which is also another good safety practice so you don't damage the machine. And then it centers it back. So it's looking pretty good to go. All you have to do is you hit start. It will say machine starts to run. It'll say the hoop size that you've got, and then I would hit start again to go. And that's it, you guys. That is how you use the embroidery machine at the Invention Studio.